Hey guys, it's the Open Site here. If you're one of the 10 or 15 subscribers I have, then you know that I haven't really made any videos lately. And that's assuming that my subscribers actually watch my videos. By the rate of some of the videos that I get, the views that I get, I don't think they are. Which that's fine, you know, people can watch whatever they want. My videos, frankly, aren't really that good. And I'm aware of that. So I've been doing a lot of debating on whether or not to continue making videos. When I had first started doing this, actually, to give a little background, to back it up just a little bit, when I first started watching YouTube videos, there was really only maybe 5 guys making firearm videos, and probably around the same making the kind of gear videos that I like, and that was probably in 2008 or 2009. I don't really remember the year exactly, but it was some time ago. It was before I even had a YouTube account. Actually, I used to come on, not log in, and I would just search for the person that I wanted to watch, and I would watch the videos that way. I think I didn't make an account until 2009, which was still some time ago. And I had always had the idea to make videos. I just didn't have a ton of the gear. I used to do a lot, or like to do a lot of shooting and things, but I didn't make videos of it, and I didn't really get to go shooting as often as I would like, and I still don't. And it's, you know, so expensive, and it's hard to find the time and everything when you have a family. But I had always had some interest in making the videos. I didn't really start making them. I think I made the first ones, weightlifting videos, in 2009 or 2010. I'm telling you, I burp in every video. I can live the rest of my life and never burp, but when I'm making a video, I just can't help it. Anyway, in 2009, 2010, I started making weightlifting videos and uploading those. And then finally, I think probably around that same time, but a little bit later, I had decided to start making firearms videos. But I didn't really feel like I had a lot of interesting firearms, and I still don't feel that way. I kind of tend to buy things that are popular, that have known track records, and because of that, those things have, you know, a lot of, even in those days, you know, they had 4 or 5 other videos of the same topic, and I didn't know if I had anything to contribute that. When I did decide to jump on this ship and start making a lot of reviews and videos, I had made a conscious decision that I wasn't going to watch other people's videos. I wasn't going to look at anybody else's videos. And the reason for that was I didn't want to be discouraged, or to have you know, other people's opinions or their style of video affect the way that I made videos. And ideally, the way that I'm making videos now is not the way that I would do it in a perfect world. You know, I am not a big fan of the style of video that I'm making right now, and that is the guy sitting in a room, you know, claiming to tell you about a product that he likes, that works great, and he's sitting in his house and it doesn't look like he actually uses these products. Hopefully, you know, my YouTube channel, hopefully the 2 different sides of it, that is, you know, the firepower, and to some degree, I guess, even the fitness side, that if you look at my videos as a whole, it will show you and demonstrate that I do actually use these products, and I know what I'm talking about. I'm not just one of these guys that has a bunch of videos of him sitting in his house talking about these things, or even at the range, you know, shooting at the range. You know, hopefully I'm showing you videos where you see maybe the Marine Raider on my side in a hiking video, and then the next scene is, you know, we have a fire in the woods, something like that. I had made the mistake of recently, you know, I was kind of on a roll. I was releasing a lot of videos, and I always kind of do my videos like this, in the sense that they're almost like blogs. You know, I do a lot of talking in my videos, sometimes unrelated to the topic, and I made the mistake of looking up some of the products that I was going to review. I had some ideas of some products I was going to do videos on. I was kind of on a roll. I was releasing one every week. I think I released one a week for 4 or 5 weeks, which was the biggest roll that I've ever been on, making videos. I really wanted to get it going, but my videos really weren't being received well and not getting a lot of views. I started doubting making the videos. I don't mind doing it, and actually I don't really do it for the reviews, or for the views I should say, not the reviews. I really do it because I like reviewing products. I like writing reviews on products, but making a video for them to me is even better. It's easier, but more than that, it's a lot more fun, and I can go back and watch the video, and it's cool. And if other people watch it, even better. But some of these videos, it's like 3 weeks go by and I get like 20 views. It's just really sad and pathetic. So, I know that I don't even really care for the type of video that I make, so I understand. If I had videos out in the field shooting or something, hopefully I would get better reviews, and I would love to make more of those types of videos. It seems like anytime I do go out, I don't have the camera for whatever the reason, and I think because usually when I go out shooting or doing something, it's almost like a last-minute decision, and that's just the way it works. I don't live in a place where I can shoot in my backyard, and I don't own a gun store, so I can't compete on those levels. So what I'm getting at is I had kind of decided, well, I'm not going to make videos anymore. But to go out, there was one last product that I did want to make a video of, and what I was getting at earlier was that some of the things that I wanted to do reviews on, like my MSR Pocket Rocket, I made the mistake of searching for that product on YouTube for reviews, and it came up with like 3 pages of reviews at least. I didn't even go through them all, and at that point, I don't know what the point is, of making the video. So I had made that mistake of actually, searching a product, and went against what I had said I was going to do from the beginning. And I seen all these reviews, and I didn't see the point anymore to adding to that. I didn't feel like I have anything to add. But if I'm going to stop making videos, review videos, and gear videos, that type of video, there was one last product that I wanted to showcase. It's a very popular product. It's not like I'm going to have anything new to add to this. But I decided a long time ago, before I made that LCP video, there's no point in me making like a really specific review video, like where I tell you how everything weighs, or how everything, like the length of the gun, the width of the gun, the height, how many ounces is it with bullets, without bullets. There's no point in me making that kind of video because there's tons of those out there. On the other hand, there's no point in me making a video that's along the lines of Hickok 45, where I go out shooting, because I would love to make videos like that, but I can't. I don't own land like that, and it just isn't practical for me to go out on like state land or something like that and set up a rig that's gonna be comparable, or on any kind of level compete with that type of video. I just can't compete with it. But at the same time, there's still products that I like, and I want to put it out there that they're good things, and I highly recommend them. And so what's a good way of doing that? So to me, I kind of make these videos in this kind of blog kind of way, where I kind of more so talk about them and points that I like, but I'm not necessarily giving you the specific details and measurements and things. I'm just giving you reasons why I like them, reasons why I support them, my experiences with them, and if I'm not relevant, I want to go out with a good product. I want to go out with a bang. So the last video that I decided I was going to have to make, if I don't make any more, and I haven't decided, this isn't for sure the last one, it's going to be this product, and I'm sure that there's 150,000 videos on it, or probably seriously, there's probably 50 videos with this at least, maybe more, but I don't have any, and I really want to make one, and that is the Ruger 1022. Why the Ruger 1022? If I'm going to make a video on anything, why is it going to be the Ruger 1022? Why not the 1911? Why not the 870? I already did that video, but maybe if I didn't already do that video, that would be the one. Why not the Glock video? I don't know. Why can't I not make the 1022 video? Well, I'll tell you why. Because I didn't grow up in a society, in a gun society. Let me just say that first of all. I didn't grow up in a gun society at all. I didn't know anybody as a kid who owned a firearm that I knew of. You know, I didn't know anybody's opinions about firearms. I didn't know anything. So when I was a kid, I didn't know anything about Ruger. If I knew Ruger was a gun manufacturer, but that's all I knew. If you asked me as a kid what was a good firearm, I would have told you, well, Glock is a good firearm. I would have told you maybe an Uzi was a good firearm. You know, things I've seen on TV. You know, I have always been into firearms, but since I didn't have any guidance, you know, in this department, you know, I didn't know what the heck I was talking about. You know, Colt was a good firearm, Smith & Wesson was a good firearm. That's all I knew. You know, I couldn't tell you the difference between a Ruger and Kel-Tec or a Taurus, you know, or a car, or FNFAL, or you know, I don't know, just a Browning. You know, I couldn't tell you the difference. Couldn't tell you which was better, which wasn't. You know, what a Bushmaster was. I had no idea. Okay, so when I started buying firearms, I was at the beginning. I was just kind of buying them blindly. The first thing I ever got was a Marlin, which I got it because it seemed really nice, looked really nice, and it was nice, and the price was right. After that, you know, I didn't know what I was doing. You know, I really didn't. You know, I didn't know anything about brands. You know, I was really clueless. And when I first got into that, some years later, you know, probably 6 years after that or 5 years after that, I'm not sure. And I started watching these YouTube videos, and these guys are really knowledgeable about firearms. Some of them, and some of them weren't very knowledgeable, but they had a lot of different firearms to show. Sometimes they didn't really know what they were talking about. It was obvious. Even me, who I didn't really know a lot about brands of firearms, I did know more about the mechanics of firearms and things. You know, I knew more like of that side. I didn't really know a lot about the brands, the different makes, and the different models, but I did know a good amount about safety and you know, how they worked and things like that, and different. I had a lot of philosophies on carrying and things like that. So it was pretty obvious to me that some of these guys didn't know what they were talking about, but they had some nice firearms to look at and things. And eventually, you know, not even in the beginning, I started hearing about Rugers. You know, Ruger this, Ruger that. And I didn't really know. I kind of, you know, I don't know why, but I had kind of a bad taste about Ruger, and I don't have any idea why. You know, maybe you just don't hear about them in movies. You don't hear about them in the hip hop music I was listening to, really, which is, you know, sad to say, that is a source of you know, knowledge when you're a kid. Video games as well. You don't see them in video games, Rugers. So I didn't know anything about them. So when, you know, I was looking at 1020, or when I was looking at 22 caliber rifles, the first thing I ever picked up was a Savage, which was it's a very accurate rifle. It was very cheap. Actually, I got it on sale, so it was especially cheap. And the thing just could not fire reliably. It's very picky about the magazines that it has, and I was very disappointed in that sense. And I started reading a lot. All 22s are that way, you know, 22 long rifles are that way. They're very picky about the ammunition that they take, blah, 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 blah. So fast forward to about 2009 or 2010, maybe early 2010. And I would say 2009. And I started hearing a lot about Ruger 1022. This is really awesome 22 caliber rifle. And I said, okay. I don't know anything about Ruger. I think they kind of suck. You know, I was clueless. Didn't know what I was talking about. And, you know, but apparently this 1022 Ruger is a nice rifle. Okay? And then I start getting like the Midway catalogs and things, ordering parts for like my 870 and things like that. And you know, they have like just a huge section on the 1022. And it starts occurring to me how popular this rifle is that I never heard of. You know, growing up, I've heard of Glock, I've heard of Colt, I've heard of the 1911. Before I ever owned any guns, I always said the first gun I was ever going to have was going to be a 1911. How delusioned I was, you know, living in New York State, because there was zero chance that the first gun I was ever going to get was a handgun. But that's what I thought when I was a kid. You know, the first gun I'm going to have is going to be a 1911. But I never heard of a 1022 as popular as it is. Of course I knew what an AR-15 is. You know, of course I knew what an M4 was, an M16, you know, it's essentially all the same thing. I knew what an AK-47 was. I had an AK-47, in fact. I never heard of a 1022. Okay, I even knew about the Marlin rifles. The Marlin 22s. I forget the model number right now. It's like the 582. No, that's the Remington. But I knew about the Remington as well. The reason I knew about the Remington is that whenever I'd go to the store, I'd see magazines for it. And I knew about the Marlins because I don't know how I actually heard about the Marlins. I think I just heard of them. They're really good guns, and I thought the Marlin was the best you could do. In some ways, it is a very nice gun, but I had never heard of a Ruger 1022. I never heard of any Ruger specific model. In fact, I used to go to the gun store and just look at them through the glass, because in New York you can't see, you can't handle the firearms. And I was just looking at them through the glass, and all I would see was these Luger lookalikes. You know, the Ruger, what do they call it? The 2245 and the man. Now don't tell me when I forget the name of the base model that the 2245 is based off of. Well, you know what I'm talking about. And if you don't, maybe I'll annotate it. And I can't believe it slipped my mind. It's one of my favorite 22 caliber handguns, and I'm just totally drawing a blank right now. But anyways, and I was just thought they made like Luger knockoffs. You know, I don't know. So finally, after doing a lot of research, I settled on getting a Ruger 1022. I wanted to get a 22 caliber rifle that was going to be reliable, because the one that I had was not reliable at all. And I wanted to get one. It was going to be actually for my son, not for me, who was very young at the time. For my son when he gets older. I was going to give it to him now. It was going to be his now, but obviously he isn't going to be able to handle it until he's older. And so I settled on the 1022. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know anything about these guns. I'm going on the word of people who I don't know on YouTube, basically, that this is going to be a good gun. Okay, and I get it. The magazine system seems a little weird at first. When I first ordered mine, right away I ordered it with a couple parts that I had constantly come across the recommendation of this gun having, which would be the auto bolt release and the an exact edge extractor claw. I believe it's made by Volquartsen or Power Custom or somebody. I seen that was pretty heavily recommended, and a recoil buffer, polyurethane recoil buffer. The gun comes stacked with like a steel pin, kind of a chunky little steel pin, and you can replace that with a polyurethane recoil buffer. So I get the gun at first. I don't change anything on it. And I realized that I had the other parts I ordered from Midway, like right at the time that I got the gun. And I realized that the auto bolt release is pretty annoying. So I take it apart. The gun is pretty easy to take apart. It's a lot easier than my Savage is, I'll tell you that. And that was one of the first things I noticed. You do have to have a screwdriver, or maybe even a coin, to take apart the gun. There is a screw that puts it together. Once you do that, it's pretty easy, and I've seen it way overcomplicated on YouTube. It's not that hard to clean, reassemble, or disassemble the weapon. It really isn't. When I took it apart to put the auto bolt release in, I put the polyurethane recoil buffer in there, and the first thing that I had tested the rifle out with was just some regular ammo, at the range, and it functioned fine. Then at my house, I wanted to do a little bit of shooting, but I lived like in the city at the time, so I got the Aguila Super Calibres, which are like the rounds, the 22 long rifle rounds that are fired only with the primer. There's no powder in them at all, so they're weak, but they're very quiet. So I was shooting those, and actually, they're more quiet than the Gamo air gun that I have, the Gamo air rifle that I have, or any of the pellet pistols that I have, or BB pistols that I have. So they're pretty quiet, and I was firing those at my house, and I was noticing that after the gun got dirty, I wasn't able to extract the rounds anymore. So the next day, I had the Exact Edge extractor claw. I replaced it like the next day just to see if it made any difference, and it didn't matter. Even those really dirty Super Calibres that were having a problem being extracted from the chamber, what was happening is I was having to rack the bolt back and forth like 3 times before it would pull them out with the factory Ruger extractor claw. Well, with the Exact Edge claw, pulled them right out every time. You could tell that there was resistance in there and that it was real dirty, but it was just pulling them right out. It really, really grabbed them well. So, you know, since that point, and basically since I've had the rifle, there has never been a malfunction in this gun. Now, I bought this gun for my son, so I don't shoot the heck out of it. I've shot probably somewhere around the neighborhood of 400 rounds through it, and I have never had a malfunction. There was actually, if I'm going to say it that way, that's a lie. There was a malfunction one time, and that was because I had carried the firearm in a backpack on a hike, disassembled so that it would fit in the backpack. Mind you, this is prior to the release of the, this was years ago, before they came out with the takedown version. So I had the receiver and barrel taken off of the stock, and they were in a backpack separately so that they wouldn't, they were still on the outside of the backpack actually, but it was just so that they didn't stick way up behind my back. Like if you watch my Allegheny hiking video, you can see the gun is on my back in a gun sock, you know, sticking way up, and I didn't want to hike like that. And plus, it distributes the weight better if I could put the receiver on this side, the receiver and barrel on this side, and then the stock on this side. So when I got to where I was going, I didn't realize that one of the pins that goes into the trigger assembly that holds there's like a little button that sticks out that holds the magazine in. It's a spring-loaded button. The pin holds that in, and that pin had fallen out. So after I fired like 2 magazines, I don't even know how that piece was managing to stay in there without the pin for like 2 magazines. Put 3rd magazine in, I fired like 4 or 5 rounds. Then like the 6th round, it failed to feed. I looked at it, I couldn't figure out what was going on. I said, you know, wow, this gun finally had a malfunction. I think that at that point I had fired maybe 375 rounds around there. I was like, wow, you know, finally we have a malfunction. And then I was looking at it and I realized that, or I went to go take the magazine out and I realized that the magazine release wasn't there. It had fallen onto the ground. So, you know, I was looking around to see what happened. I had to get a screwdriver to take the magazine out. When I did, the little button that holds the magazine fell out. I realized that, you know, the magazine hadn't been seated in there all the way, and that I was missing that pin. Looking around in the woods, I actually found the pin. I found the button that had fallen out, and the screen, or not the screen, the spring that attaches to that button that holds the magazine. Actually, I can show you what the part I'm talking about, maybe. If you could see in there, that button had fallen out right there that I'm pushing to the magazine. You see it move. That had fallen out in there with the spring attached to it. I was able to find that. I'm amazed that I found the pin. The only thing that I didn't find was, let's get this out of the way here, the magazine release. I couldn't find it. I don't know. It was in the mud somewhere. I had to order a new one. And that is why it didn't pick up that round. Once I had realized the problem and I got that pin back in there, even without the magazine release, I was able to still put the magazines in. I had to extract them with a screwdriver that was on the multi-tool that I had on me, by sticking the screwdriver up here and turning it essentially the same way that this turns. I was able to still carry on shooting that day, and I didn't have any more malfunctions. So that speaks to the reliability of this as a 22. And I had fired, at one time I fired 200 rounds. I'd never cleaned it. I went back out and I fired another 75 rounds. Never had any jams or problems, and that is excellent for a 22 caliber rifle, or 22 caliber anything. That is excellent. I'm talking rimfire now. That's excellent. You just don't see that in a lot of 22 rimfire guns. Okay, now as far as the durability goes with this thing, when I had the factory stock on here, the wood stock, okay, and you see in the Allegheny video I'm carrying it on my back, and I had it in the gun stock. I had my friend spray me with bug spray. We were hiking in like August or something. It was really buggy, and I had noticed months later, after that hike, whenever I would put this away and I would put it in the gun stock, I would take it out and I would notice a little bit of the finish was gone off of the wood. So first it was like here, and then it was the other side, the same spot, but on the other side. Then it was like here, and it was like generally in the same vicinity, around the butt end of the stock, or at least from the receiver rearward. I kept getting, the finish was coming off. Okay, I couldn't figure it out, and then one day I was watching that Allegheny hiking video, and I realized, wait a minute, I had bug spray on me. I never washed the gun stock when I came home. It has bug spray on it, and over time, months and months of sitting in there with the bug spray sitting on there, it's actually taking the finish right off of the stock. It wasn't a major problem for me. I'm saying that as a way of disclosure that the finish on the factory model isn't rock solid or anything. It wasn't a problem for me though, because as this was going to be for my son, there was two things I wanted to do. One, I wanted to put a youth size stock on there, not only for my son, to be honest. There are some advantages as an adult to having a youth size stock, especially when I lived in New York, where you cannot have a collapsible stock on a firearm in New York. One of the advantages is it's smaller, it's handier. If you're a really tall person, you may not be able to shoulder it very well. But this doesn't have any recoil, and so I could shoulder it just fine. I'm a little bit too close to the sights maybe. There's not a lot of room on the cheek piece, but what you're giving up in comfort, you're really gaining in size. And this being the 1022 carbine anyways, it really comes out to be a small package, as I think you can see. Just by a way of measuring, here goes a handgun, and it's like the size of the stock on it. So that's a small, compact handgun. Compact. We've had that conversation before. So with this being for my son, I wanted to customize it, was the other thing. So I had planned on putting custom parts on here anyway, and one of the things I was planning on changing anyway was the stock. So the fact that it wore out for me only meant that I had to do it sooner. And what you see on here now is the Hogue overmolded, so this is totally rubber feeling. The whole thing is rubber, which I really like for a kid because it's very grippy, and kids have kind of weak hands. Wood stocks can be very slippery, especially if there is no checkering, or if the checkering isn't that good. The stock, the factory stock that comes on here doesn't have any checkering. I think they do have an upgraded stock. It's a larger one. It's definitely not a youth size. This is a youth size. The downside to this, with it being a youth size, it's a fairly heavy stock, and this gun comes out, I haven't weighed it, but I'm going to guess it's at least as heavy as it was prior to the stock being on here. The factory stock, probably heavier. So, your kid, if they're little enough to where the weight's going to be a problem, they're probably going to be bench rest shooting anyways, unless they're shooting handguns. But, that is worth noting that it's heavy. But, to speak to that being heavy, you know, this is a much better quality feel stock. I like it even better than the factory all-weather Ruger stock, which is the one that comes out the model with the stainless barrel with the gray receiver. I like this one better. I think it's much better feel, much better quality feel. They even have, I think that's an Uncle Mike's. It says Hogue, but I think they have Uncle Mike's make it for them. A butt pad on here. My son actually picked up this sling. This is a Winchester sling. This used to be made by a different company, and I know that because I have this exact same sling. This is obviously not tactical. It's more of a hunting style. I have this exact same sling on another one of my rifles, except for it's not camouflage. And it was at that point branded by a different company. Now they say it's a Winchester. They changed the swivels on it to plastic, and the old one they're easy release metal ones, which I really like. These are a little bit cheaper plastic. The plastic on them feels really strong and sturdy, and it's nice and thick. It's not flimsy at all or cheap. But what's cheaper about them is these are not fast release. This is just screwed in here with a screw. You can undo it with a coin, which is nice, but I still preferred the easy release ones, and they were metal. You know, I don't know. But these ones aren't too bad. And this, I wouldn't have picked this. I was going to actually pick a black sling for this. And my son, he absolutely objected. He picked this one. He wanted this one. He wouldn't take any other one for an answer. And actually, I was glad about that because he really wanted this one. He picked it. And this being his, that's the only thing that he handpicked on here. So this being his, you know, I was really happy that he decided to, you know, give me some input and really be adamant about it. And after I put it on there, I agreed with his decision actually, you know, so he was 3 or 4 at the time that he made that decision, I think 4, and you know, after I put it on there, the 4-year-old was right, because if I had put an all black one on here, this kind of would have been a cool rifle for me, but it's not my rifle. Putting the, even though we don't hunt, putting the camouflage one on there really gave it that family effect to it, you know, more. So, and I think it looks cool with it on there, and I'm glad that he picked that one, because I wouldn't have. The sights on the 1022 are probably going to be the only hit that I'm going to give this firearm. I don't like the sights. I would much prefer a peep sight in the back, and maybe the same style setup up here, except for with a, I would have a, what do you call it, fiber optic sight, and I think I will switch these. I like this gun so much, I'm going to get one for myself, or put this one away for my son. And you know, it's going to essentially be the same, except for I'll probably get the adult size stock on there. Maybe not. You know, I don't know. Maybe I won't. Because there's something nice about having the smaller stock for hiking too. Although they do have the takedown model now. I don't know. Maybe I'll get that. But you know, for some reason, I kind of prefer, you know, the barrel being more or less fixed to the receiver. I kind of like that. Call me old-fashioned. I don't know. Something about pushing the button, twisting it, taking it off. It doesn't necessarily appeal to me. One thing I wanted to set straight about these is that I see on YouTube sometimes people really give, you know, they really get puzzled, or they really kind of get real dramatic about the way that the magazine functions on these. There's no trick to it. There's nothing weird to it. People say that, you know, like the magazine release is so weird and I don't like it. And okay, you see this? It's very simple. Push it. The magazine falls out. Okay? When you put the magazine in, you don't have to do anything weird. You don't have to push no buttons or nothing. Push it in. Push the button, it comes out. Push it in, it goes in. People make a big deal out of it because these used to have like it was flat, flush. The magazine release used to be flush on these. This is standard on here now, but it wasn't always. And these used to be flush, and it was like a button that you had to push in. And maybe that was a little awkward, but since they changed it to this system, all you do is push this up and it falls right out. It kind of rocks forward, and I think that throws people off. They don't know whether they're supposed to push this thing back. They don't know whether they're supposed to push it forward. And you can push it forward and it'll function just fine. I find the most efficient way to do it is to push it essentially like in a straight up type of motion, and it comes right out. Alright, moving on to one of the main reasons that I chose the Ruger 1022 was, like I said, when I opened up that Midway catalog, that huge Midway catalog, the master catalog, and I seen the huge section of accessories for this gun, you know, that really pointed out to me how popular these were and how easy they were to customize. And that's not something that you find with a lot of guns. I have a, you know, I've mentioned it a few times, I have a Marlin that was the first firearm that I bought, and it's an excellent firearm. I can't find any parts for it. If I wanted to get an extra stock for it, I'm screwed. You know, even if I wanted to get a replacement stock for it, I'm pretty much screwed. I may be able to contact Marlin, and hopefully they would be able to help me out. Aside from that, there's about nothing I can do besides, you know, maybe have a custom gunsmith make me a custom one. That's about it. That's all I can do. Okay. As for this, you can get, for a 1022, for as great of a gun as the Marlin is, or even the older Remington 22s, you can get probably 50 different stocks for this. Easily 50 different stocks for this. Magazines, factory magazines. You know, a lot of times you can get these extended magazines for guns, but they're aftermarket magazines, and aftermarket magazines are a mixed bag. There's some brands that make really excellent aftermarket magazines, and then there's some brands that are really popular that make garbage. Garbage. They don't work at all. With the 1022, not when I first got mine. I got mine a little bit before, but a couple years after I got this one, they came out with this, the BX25. This is a factory 25 round magazine, and this is something that you don't get from Marlin. You don't get this from, you know, maybe Remington makes these. You don't get this from Savage. Okay, this is a factory 25 round magazine, and it is reliable, very reliable. I've tested it. A lot of those 400 rounds that have gone through this that I'm telling you about were put through this magazine, and that's valuable. And it's not weird or awkward either, like you see on YouTube a lot of the time. You just stick it in there. Okay, push the button, take it out, stick it in there. You know, a lot of people make a big deal out of this, like I was saying. To me, this magazine release system is as easy as an AR-15. You know, it's really very simple. You see people on YouTube messing this up, and I don't I don't get it, you know, to say the least. I don't, you know, I don't know, they make a big deal out of it like it's difficult to do. And if that's not enough for you, let me show you this factory option, which is this bad boy. Open sight, that's another BX25. No, it isn't. This is a BX25 times 2. These are not two magazines clipped together. This is one magazine. It's a double-sided magazine in the form of two magazines clipped together. That is, one on this end, one on this end. Goes in just like the other ones. Let's see if I get, maybe this is in the way here. Alright, that should be a better view. Goes in just like the other ones. Okay. You fire 25 rounds on that side, take it out, turn it around, fire 25 rounds on that side for 50 rounds. Way illegal in New York, where I'm from, but awesome. And it comes with this rubber cover on there to keep crap from getting into your magazine when you're using the other side. So I guess you would put that on the end while you're shooting, and it's going to keep it clean. I think it sucks. It doesn't stay on there very good. It's falling off. If you were moving around, it would fall off. I think in practical use, I would just toss it. And actually, if I was going to be real serious about using this, I probably wouldn't use this magazine just because I think that other end is going to get put into the dirt. I would stick with these BX25s or the 10 rounders. And there's something to be said for those 10 rounders that fit flush. You know, when I first got this, I thought, like, I didn't really care. I didn't think that was a good feature. I actually prefer the way something like this looks because I think it looks cooler. I think it has more of a tactical look. You know, I'm kind of feeding into that assault weapons ban, you know, crap like that. It makes it more dangerous. I do think it makes it look cooler. But in use, I've come to find that having something that fits flush is, very handy and very beneficial, especially if you're backpacking. There's nothing, it can be loaded, there's nothing sticking out, getting in the way, snagging on things. If you're down on the ground prone, and there's nothing, that's going to get in the way, get pushed against the floor. It's excellent, and I think it's excellent. So, as far as availability of parts and all that, you can't beat this, with hardly any rifle, let alone another 22 caliber rifle. So, that's why I wanted to make a video on this gun, because I'm of the impression a lot of people still don't know about these. A lot of people do know about these because they're super popular. But if you're not a gun guy, I'm willing to bet you probably haven't heard of a 1022 unless you know somebody who has one. If you're just regular Joe Schmo, don't really know any gun owners, you're interested in it yourself, like I was, you probably never heard of one of these. So even though there's probably 300 YouTube videos on these, that's why I wanted to make one, and I'm not going to give you the length and all that. I'm just going to tell you how it is. You need to buy 2 of these, 3 of these. They're excellent. You can't, I almost said you can't go wrong with the Marlin, but you can, because you can't get the parts for it like you can for this. You can get maybe like parts to fix it, and Marlins aren't the same since they've been made by Remington anyways. Thank God I got my Marlin before Remington bought them, because I'm not hearing good things about the newer Marlins. But this is it. If you want a 22 rifle that you're going to give to your kids, that's going to be a semi-automatic, and maybe you think semi-automatic is a weird choice, that I should have went with the bolt action for my kid, maybe, but you know what? He's not, 20 years from now, he's not going to have any problem finding parts for this thing. He's not going to have any problems, fixing this thing if it breaks. If I had bought him some obscure Savage bolt gun, he may not be able to find parts for that. Okay, these will still be around because so many people own them. So many people still have them, and they're proven. It's not junk. This is a nice gun. Buy 1, buy 3, buy 4 of them. I'm gonna get another one. So if you don't take my advice on anything else, get yourself a 1022. Get yourself a 22 caliber rifle. They're so valuable. They're so versatile. To me, the 2 most versatile guns you can have is a shotgun, 12 gauge preferably. You can do so many things. A shotgun could be almost like a rifle, and it can be, a small caliber weapon. Well, a 22 long rifle is a lot the same way. You can't make it as powerful as a shotgun, but it's very, very versatile. You can have rounds that are super weak in this, and then you can have rounds that are relatively hot, which would be like a Velocitor, a CCI Velocitor or something like that. And just as a way of disclosure, I always use either CCI mini mags or the Aguila equivalent. I forget what they're called. And that's the only ammunition I use for this, because in years past I've used other brands, and I've never found another brand of 22 long rifle that was as reliable as those 2 by far. I don't think, I may have had a problem maybe like two rounds years ago with CCIs that didn't go off, maybe a little bit more than that, maybe a handful. Typically they always work, and I don't think I've ever had a problem with the Aguilas not going off. I think they've been 100% for me, although I haven't used them as much. I've maybe only fired a couple, maybe 300 rounds of those. I've never had a problem with one. So get yourself one of these, today, now, before they're all gone. Takedown model, whatever. But I highly recommend this. If you never listen to anything else I say, listen to this. Alright, thanks for watching.